This episode of the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast is brought to you by pmtlifestyle.com, authentic Muay Thai lifestyle by Pu'u. Definitely go check out the website at pmtlifestyle.com for some awesome lifestyle merchandise. That's for those of you out there either involved in Muay Thai, looking at getting involved in Muay Thai, and embrace a healthier lifestyle to live the life of a Nak Muay. Go check it out. This episode of the podcast is a recording from September 1st with Sac Life Official. What Sac Life is led by a man named Tim. His whole purpose right now is to bring awareness to mental health through martial arts. He's going around, traveling around, teaching people free martial arts lessons in order to help combat poor mental health. Super cool guy. Really enjoyed my interview with him. Definitely go check them out at Sac Life Official, SACKLIFE Official on Instagram. Again, enjoy the show and go check them out. Today we have a special guest who is a professional fighter. She's in town for a seminar here at Pu'u Muay Thai in Santa Barbara. She did some guest classes this week. Been doing a lot of private lessons, been spending a lot of time just picking her brain while she's around. She's been living in Thailand, I think, for the past 6 years. Currently out of Bangkok, out of PK Sanchai Muay Thai Gym. If you don't know what that name is, go look it up. Very big name gym and definitely a powerhouse. So it's good to see a woman coming out of there. Anyways, let's get started. So we have Miss Angela Chang in. Where did you get to Santa Barbara from? Where were you at?
I was in Virginia teaching a couple seminars, and I got in just a couple days ago, and I feel like so much has happened since then.
What do you mean so much?
I mean, one, it was a lot of traveling. Like the other day when I came in, I took 3 planes that day. But also just like meeting all these people and seeing all these places. I wasn't just in Santa Barbara. I also went to Ventura yesterday. So
yes,
teaching classes, meeting all these people. It's been really fun. So I feel like just like very action packed.
It has been action packed, and you got to see like some of the coasts. So we're in Santa Barbara, California right now. At Pu'u Muay Thai Santa Barbara. So you were in Virginia. What gym were you at over there?
I was at East Coast Muay Thai. It's owned by Jose Aguirre. He's my friend.
East Side Muay Thai, right?
East Side, yeah. I met him training at Sitong Pinong a few years ago. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then, so where were you at? Where were you at before that?
Before that, I was in New York. With my parents. I was born and raised in New York, so I was just there training at Seton with the Z's, trying to get back in shape after months of doing nothing. So,
and then what gets me back? Where were we at before New York?
I was in Thailand, in Bangkok.
How long have you been in Thailand for?
5.5 years.
5.5 years. And I guess you were telling me that you went there on you were planning on going just for 3 months.
Oh, so it was only supposed to be for 6 months, and then when the 6 months were when the time was coming up, I was like, man, this is not enough time. But I went back home because I was expecting to hear back from physical therapy school. Didn't hear back. So then a week later, I was like, well, it's either you choose to do something now, like here in New York, like work or go back to school for something, or you use the time that you have and you have youth on your side and go back to Thailand and just see how far you can take it. And that's really when I got more serious about being a better fighter rather than just learning to be better at the sport.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, what was it that finally got you to go to Thailand the first time?
I went on a training trip at the end of 2015, the tail end of 2015, with a couple of people from the gym. It was just something that's kind of like a rite of passage for a lot of people who have been training for a while. Then I was dying to go. I remember when I first trained at Seton that before the holidays, I just remember them all talking with Aziz, oh, we're all gonna go to Thailand together. Oh, what are you gonna pack? All that stuff. And then I just felt oh my God, I want to do that with them. I want to go over to Thailand and train Muay Thai and see what it's like over there. So then when I had the money to be able to, I went over there for 3 weeks with a couple people from the gym. And just like, I just immediately fell in love with it. Not just the training and the Muay Thai, but like, I love the weather, I love the food, I love the people. Like, I just find that there are certain things about Thai culture that's very different from American culture.
For sure.
I mean, obviously everything has its pros and cons, but just coming from New York where everything's super fast paced and no one cares about anyone else, to go to Thailand where people who came and speak your language try to help you because they know you're not from there. It was just like, it was so different.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about pros and cons. Like, what would you say is like a big pro of like, besides training Muay Thai and being able to do that as like, you know, like towards like a career in like professional fighting? What's another pro of being in Thailand?
Your money goes further, even if you're making like let's say like what a foreigner would make in Thailand, which would be less than what they would make elsewhere. Your money still goes way further. Like a meal will only cost you a couple dollars. A taxi ride will also cost you a couple dollars, and you know, you just don't have to think as much about saving your money unless you're a big partier. And if you're there for Muay Thai, you're probably not going to be partying a whole lot.
Yeah.
So
hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. I mean, you're not going to make it very far if you do, you know.
I'm sure you've seen that a lot out there. Some guys go off kilter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know about women that go out there. I haven't seen cases of that really.
Well, there are less women, so I guess it's like less chances of it happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, just don't have to think twice about it. Oh yeah, I'll just get in a taxi and go to where I need to go. Or, oh, I didn't cook. It's okay. I'll just buy food. You know, coming back to the U.S., I've been here for a month already, and it's just like, man, why is it $50 to get home? I live like 10 minutes away. You know, like. Was
that on like a taxi or a Lyft?
That was on Uber, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I checked on Lyft, and it was like the same price. I was like.
Okay, this is how it is. Right?
Yeah, this is how it is. And like, you know, when you look at what some people make per hour, like that could be like an hour or two of their work time, and it wasn't the case for me in Thailand. Yeah.
Well, with what would be a big, I guess, con for being in Thailand?
Just kind of like getting stuff done sometimes. Because a lot of Thai people, they're very like laid back in nature. Sometimes it carries over into certain aspects of like business and like punctuality when it comes to deadlines and stuff like that. So for example, like I know this wonderful guy who makes custom shorts. And then like I'll go to this, I purposely go to the store rather than text him, because I know that if I text him, there is like a very, very big chance that he'll just forget that I told him XYZ. And then I will have to follow up the paying customer.
Yeah.
Like weeks and weeks and weeks. Like, hey, did you do it? Oh, no, I forgot. So then I go in person, and then like I make him write down everything. And then I'm like, okay, so when are you going to get it done? And then I still have to like check in every week and make sure like the progress is getting done. Because there are times where it's kind of like, you know, they tell you one thing and then you don't follow up, and it's like, it hasn't even been done at all. So it's happened to me so many times.
Well, you can't imagine like equipment manufacturing.
Yeah.
So like Muay Thai equipment, it's very hard to get.
Yeah.
There's a big shortage. There was this website, is it Muay Thai stuff? I think they like closed. I think they completely shut their.
Oh really? I bought stuff from them when I like first started.
Yeah, they've been around forever. And, during COVID, like it was like, oh, we're temporarily closed, and then it just permanently. I think it permanently shut down. I haven't checked on there in a while, so don't take my word for it. But and then just like a lot of stuff back order for like indefinitely.
Yeah.
So the whole martial arts industry too. It's like. All the karate equipment that comes from like China and like not the Middle East though. Somehow they kept that supply chain open.
Okay.
So, but from China, Thailand, it just totally sucked. I don't know if it's like because like the lockdowns and stuff like that too created like some weird like supply chain like shortages.
Yeah.
So everything went up. Like it went up last year. Everything went up like 15%. Then I got an email from like all our suppliers like, hey, just so you know, like we know things are really tough, but next year everything's going up 30%. That's not a small markup.
Yeah, that's a big markup.
Yeah, but that's kind of, I think it's the effect of what we're seeing from the economy slowing down and people having to catch up. You know,
mortgages that fall behind. People got into debt. People had a hard time, just the whole thing, or they bought the business from somebody and they realized like, oh crap, this is losing money.
Yeah.
And how to fix it after COVID.
I mean, no one really expected anything to play out the way it did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have predicted that on anything. So.
No.
Yeah.
It was pretty nuts. But seeing that, and then like, that kind of brings me to the next question is, what got you to do this like seminar tour? I just saw your Instagram post like, oh, I'm coming to the U.S. I'm like, hey, come here. Matt Lucas can vouch for me.
Yeah. So I decided to come back to the U.S. because, Thailand's been in lockdown for like months, and right now they're starting up fights again. But because I know of the whole political situation going on, and the fact that they don't have like a proper plan in place for COVID, I just don't see things opening back up to be quote unquote normal until the rest of the year. So I decided to come back because at least now I can train and fight, which is better than the homeland of Muay Thai, which is crazy to me. But, just sitting around and just working and not being active, it was really hard on me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to come home. And then coming home, I love teaching privates. And usually every time I get to come home for like a month or two, I get to do at least one seminar. So I was thinking, all right, let's see where I can get seminars booked and let's travel and just kind of get it done. So it just kind of all happened organically. Like first it was the seminar at your gym. So I was like, okay, I'll buy a ticket to Santa Barbara. Then I spoke to the people at Wooden Man. So I was like, okay, I'm going to buy my ticket to San Francisco. So those were the first two booked. And then just like a few weeks ago, Jose from Eastside messaged me. He was like, hey, let's do a seminar, but it has to be before Summer's fight in October.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, I'm done in San Francisco like end of September, so it's gonna have to be like at the beginning of the trip now.
Yeah.
So then book tickets to do that. And now I might also be going to Stockton to do a seminar. Not 100% confirmed yet, but it's good because I'm going to be in these areas anyway. It just works out really well, especially for the business owners. Like they don't have to pay for like my airfare or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
It allows you to be there, and it allows you to make money, allows you to network and do that stuff.
Yeah. And, traveling, I don't mind the traveling, even though it's tiring. It's always fun meeting new people when it comes to like gym owners and people who manage the gym, but also all the people that train at the gym, because they're all like, they just are so hungry for knowledge. And I think sometimes I don't give myself enough credit to really just believe in myself in that, like, I have so much to tell them, because a lot of things that have been like really common sense to me, or because I've just been doing it and like breathing it, it's not common sense for a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I just have to remind myself, like, all right, you have way more to give than you think.
Yeah. I know we were talking about that a little bit yesterday. Was it imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
And it's normal to have that, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. Right, you were talking about some of your friends. Like, I'm gonna throw him under the bus. Matt Lucas. That guy doesn't.
Our favorite.
Yeah, he doesn't have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
No, he's really good at like, hey, this is what I know, and I can share this. And you all of a sudden, like you're saying, people are like, man, how long you been doing this for? He's like, oh, like 6 months.
Yeah.
Damn, it feels like you've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So I feel like having that knowledge of what you do, like, you said, like, how long you been training Muay Thai now? How many years?
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So most people don't stick to stuff that long. Like I can tell you, like, the thing I've stuck to the longest is Muay Thai.
Yeah.
It started in 2007. So I've never stuck to anything else that long before. And it just happened organically, same thing, So seeing that and having that progression, seeing other people go through it, it's like, now, like, as a gym owner is interesting. I'm sure you've seen it too. So somebody's training, about 2 years in, people get like this like plateau where it's like a mental plateau. It's physical and mental, but it's more mental. They feel like they know everything. I'm serious. They feel like it's like, oh man, like I feel like I'm hot shit, right?
Yeah.
And it's normal. Everybody goes through it. Like I've tried pre-framing our students. Like there's gonna be a time where you feel like this.
You warn them about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like we call it pre-framing. Like we pre-frame. Like, hey, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a time where you want to quit. Like, don't quit. So having those conversations and stuff, it definitely helps with it. But this is one that it's like at the 2-year mark where this happens, and they feel like I need to spar hard all the time. It's like, whoa, like pump your brakes. Like you need to stick with the program more, and you're getting better. Have you seen that at all? Like
I've seen it in people who have never really left the circle. So for example, I'm from the East Coast, and there are fighters who have like 30, 40 amateur fights on the East Coast, and they're always bragging about, I'm the best, yada yada yada. I'm a quote unquote world champion. I'm like, I'm sorry, if you're amateur, you're not world champion at anything. No. You know what I mean? No matter how many fights you have, you're not technically a world champion.
But what about for IFMA? Is that considered world champion in your mind? This is your opinion, by the way.
While it's technically a world champion, it's under amateur rules, which is very different from professional rules.
I agree.
That being said, IFMA is pro-am, so if a person who is amateur in their home country can beat a pro in another country, I mean, that I feel like that also says something.
For sure.
So I think that's a little bit of a hard answer, hard question to answer.
Yeah. I understand. I threw you a curveball.
Yeah, thanks. I expect nothing less from you.
Yeah, so it's a unique perspective too, because from living in Thailand and competing there, like you're seeing coming through like as an amateur here in the U.S. and then going to Thailand and experiencing like professional fighting. Mm-hmm. It's funny, like I know you've seen this, the Thai trainers that throw somebody under the bus for like a fight. Like, yeah, you can fight. Yeah, no training. You'll win for sure. They just throw them in. They get their ass kicked. Yeah. So, have you seen that over there?
Fortunately, I've been at gyms where they want to make sure that the person gets proper training, at least has the basics down before just throwing them in there. But I've heard of it happening all the time, and I know of people who are like sponsored by certain gyms, and then they would be like, "Oh yeah, you fight on Max Muay Thai," and you just see these people getting cut in the back of the head, whatever, just getting demolished in every single fight. You're like, you don't belong in that fight. Like, what's the gym doing? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's professional fighting because they're making money. That's what they're doing. The gym's making money at the cost of somebody's body. And that's where it comes into. It is a third world country. Like
that's true. And Muay Thai is purely business over there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the reality of it is here too. It is. It's business. This is something that a lot of people, they like to glamorize. Like they have this vision in their mind that like Muay Thai is like this magical thing. It's like, no, it's money. You go to at the root of it. That's what allows a lot of these awesome opportunities to happen. Right. It allows us to have a place to have you here, to be able to come train and do that. And it's like money's more like a vessel to allow these awesome things to happen. I agree. To help more people, right? Yeah. But there it's strictly like, hey, I need money. Like, give me a fight.
Yeah. So like here in the US especially, like I feel like it's more of a passion for a lot of people who train it. Yes, obviously money is involved, but it's like what I was referring to is like, people are like, oh, I'm doing this because I love it. I don't even care if I get paid. I mean, look at the amateur scene, that speaks for itself. Whereas in Thailand, it's like, Thai trainer comes here, it's like, why would you fight and not get paid? Like, why would you do that, Like, when Molit went over to New York for 6 months, he, like, didn't get it. He's like, wait, you have a good-paying job, and you come train after you work?
Like, why?
And then you fight for free? It just, like, jumbled his brain in so many ways. But then after, like, a few months being in New York, he's like, oh, they do it for a different reason. They do it for, like, I don't know, self-development, hobby, just to, like, push themselves physically and mentally. Yeah, so, yeah, definitely different. And definitely a privilege to be able to choose to fight as well.
And I know I talked about that, like, one of those things, like, we remind people that here in our programs, too, is like, hey, we're lucky to be able to train this. It's not, like, a way out of something. Yeah. It's maybe a way out of something, like, mentally, right? Or physically to get in better shape. But not there, and that's where like the intention behind the training is a little bit different too. They're training because they need to get paid. They're like, hey, I need to win. I need to be able to
support my family.
Yeah, it's like you go into like I'll plug Matt's book on fighting in Thailand. He talks about how like the betting process works. If anybody's listening, I would recommend it. Have you read it?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm in it, so of course I read it.
I'm not sure. I had to ask. But I like his breakdown of it because it lets people who haven't been there a lot to better understand it when they go. So like I brought my students there and like, we went to Patong Stadium. Oh, thank you. We're drinking what was it? Flying Embers.
Pineapple chili.
So what do you think about this stuff?
It's good. I don't really taste the cayenne, to be honest with you.
No, I've had it as peppery before. More peppery, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's just this batch.
Yeah, we're about to crack open the black cherry. With a twist of lime, it says.
Almost like if you like breathe in on the cup on this, that's where you get the cayenne. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. But going back onto like the betting, gambling. Brought one of my students over at Patong, and it's like I understand how the gambling works. So I placed a bet. I lost, but it was like I had somebody who's had a chance. They beat like big foreigners. Their name is Bokiao. I don't know if you know her.
Doesn't she train in Chiang Mai?
No, she was in Phuket. She's at Muay Thai.
Okay. Yeah. That rings a bell now.
So she was like fighting all these big foreign girls. She didn't care. So it's like I'll bet on her.
Yeah.
I'll bet on her. Like I'm like okay, she made round 1, round 2. All right, cool. Round 3, I'm gonna bet. And the bookie's like, oh you because they were asked like, oh you want to bet with the Swedish girl? I'm like no. Like, oh okay. But one of my students didn't know what was going on, tried to put money in the middle of the round. I'm like, no, like, they were literally stopping the fight because she got a cut. I'm like, no, because they were about to take the money, but because they knew that it was going to get stopped. I was like, you can't do that. Like, you got to be careful. But seeing that, how that plays into the fight and stuff, too, and how Matt explains that, I think is really good. You don't see it on the entertainment shows. You obviously don't get that kind of stuff.
No, it's 3 rounds, and a lot of times they don't even allow gamblers to be there. Like, gambling, I feel like it kind of needs the 5 rounds. I've definitely seen gambling with 3 rounds, but then those are the shows, like, in the countryside with very little regulation on who comes in and out. Like, a lot of the TV shows and stuff, they don't want to show gamblers because it's technically illegal. But, at the same time, you got, like, Lupini Stadium, Rajadamnern, and even the stadiums at Phuket just allowing the gamblers to be there. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's the gambling, I personally feel like it's a double-edged sword. It's good that it keeps, like, the decisions consistent and fair, but it's bad in that it kind of, like, it strays away from what the scoring system actually is.
For sure. And it affects the outcome of the fights. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've seen it at Channel 7. I saw some crazy shit go down before.
Yeah. So Dr. Sawang, he runs a PhD program in Muay Thai, like one in Bangkok, and he's also the president of Thai Fight. He watched a couple of my fights after I met him and stuff, and then he told my trainer at the time, he's like, Angela wins at Muay Thai but loses to gambling.
Oh.
So it was interesting when he said it, because at that time I was only in Thailand for like 8 months, so we're still like trying to get a whole grasp of the gambling and the scoring and stuff. But now I look back, I'm like, okay, I know what he means now.
You understand more.
Yeah.
That goes into just like learning the language of it and what that means and how the fight plays out. And it's funny because that definitely gets lost in translation here for these people that are fighting for a different reason. They're not fighting for the money made from gambling. So
a good example is there are times where I fought, and then a gambler would try to get my attention and be like, hey, if you win, I'll give you 1,000 baht, or whatever. For a Thai fighter, depending on the amount of money, it would really, really motivate them. Like, you see it in the big fights. Like, they'd be like, hey, I'll give you 10,000 baht. Hey, I'll give you 20,000 baht, or whatever. And you see the energy in a fighter change. But when you tell that to a foreigner, like, they're not, at the end of the day, they're not really doing it for the money. Yeah, the money's like the cherry on top of the cake, but they're not really doing it for the money. They want to do it because they want to prove something to themselves or prove something to other people, that they just want to win. And that money is not going to motivate them any, like, not a whole lot extra to win. So when I get told that, I'm like, oh, okay, but, whatever. Like, I'd rather listen to my corner. Shut up, you know?
Yeah. Well, coming back in, so you live in Bangkok when you're in Thailand?
Yeah, Bangkok.
Okay, and where were you last training in Bangkok?
when was I last training?
Like where? Like
where? So I was at Sichuan Pinong for the first 4 years, and then COVID happened, and then I moved over to PK Sanchai. So I've been there for the last year.
How'd you end up at PK Sanchai?
So my friend Bailin, she was in Thailand to get her master's. And we were always supposed to meet up and stuff. And she trained at Sichuan for a bit, which is kind of how we knew each other. But I never even met her at Sichuan. It was just kind of like anyone who comes to Sichuan is like, oh, you're going to Bangkok? Angela's in Bangkok. And then, so that's kind of how we talked. She was, when Sichuan Pinong was pretty shut down, even in the beginning stages of COVID, before there were any official lockdowns. And then this is also when we were like, oh, it's not gonna be that bad. Oh, it's just the flu, you know what I mean? Those were the days. Yeah. She was like, oh, come by PK to train. And then I had absolutely nothing to do. So then I took a cab over, went to PK. And I've dropped by a lot of different gyms, and almost all the gyms that I drop in at, like, it takes a while for the trainers to take you seriously, especially if you're a woman. At PK, first day, I got hard training. They didn't water it down for me. They didn't make me do stupid jumping shit or stupid spinning shit just to make me tired. You know, they really taught me and really properly held pads for me. And that was just day one. So I was like, oh, imagine I end up building a relationship with these trainers and get to know the fighters and stuff. So I dropped by PK a couple times. Lockdown happened. Didn't do anything for months. None of us did anything for months. But during that time...
Wait. But you were doing something during shutdowns. You were telling me about it. You're watching, was it Korean?
I was watching a lot of Korean dramas. And because of the Korean dramas, I started drinking a lot of soju.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, also I worked a lot on my blog. And it was really during that initial lockdown of COVID that my blog really blew up because of that. So
what's your blog called?
Muay Thai, which means it means female fighter in Thai, but I've kind of expanded it to mean to include more than just people who identify as women. I want to kind of include everyone in it, with special focus to the people who don't get the attention. Yeah.
Okay. So going back on I wanted to sidetrack, because I know about it, but people listening to this might not know about it. So you're at PK Sanchai and had good training, you're like, hell yeah, I'm training.
So then I was like, this is great. And then shutdown happened, and then even before COVID, I knew that I needed to change gyms because of there was some stuff going on in the gym. I tried out PK, and then I remember on my list, I wanted to try out a couple different gyms before I was like, I'm gonna move here. Yeah. But then because of COVID and stuff, I was like, all right, I really can't stay here anymore, because if I keep staying here, I'm not gonna get what I need at Sichuan Pinong, and I need to make a decision. So then during COVID, during the 3-4 months that I didn't have anything to do, I made the decision. I was like, I'm gonna go over to PK. So then when the gym opened back up, I went there a couple times to train, and then I asked the owner's son, Game. He manages the gym. I was like, hey, I want to ask you about if you sponsor fighters, blah, 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 blah. He's young. He's very open-minded. And then he was like, look, most people, when they ask for a sponsorship, they ask for everything. They ask for a room. They ask for training. They ask for food. He's like, you're only asking for training. So he's like, I think I can do it.
Oh, sweet.
But then his dad is a little bit more old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So his dad was like, no, we don't sponsor foreigners.
Especially foreign women.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's nothing in it for them, really. You know, what are we making compared to their Thai fighters, compared to the foreign men?
Yeah, God.
So then he was very apologetic about it. And of course, I didn't hold any bad feelings. I was more than happy to train there. So then he worked out a price for me. I found a condo nearby the gym. And then was it in July of last year, I moved to my condo, started training there full time. In August, I had my first fight with them on Super Champ.
Super Champ.
Super Champ.
Who did you fight?
I fought Nang Hong, and I fought her at my walking weight. So she walks at 58 kilos. The fight was at 54 kilos. Okay. And then at the last week of fight camp, I was 53.5 kilos. So then actually during the morning of the weigh-ins, I was eating, and they all saw me eating, and I still weighed in under, and she weighed in 200 grams over, and then she looked at me, and I was like, go lose it. You know, like I'm already
Like,
taking.
yeah, I'm going up.
I'm already taking a fight like above my usual fighting weight, and you're 200 grams over. You can lose it.
Yeah, at least you can do is make that.
Yeah. So I made her run for a bit. I was like, ha ha ha, make her tired.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how that stuff goes.
Yeah. I didn't think it would have been fair. You know, if she just thought that she couldn't just beat 200 grams over when she's already bigger than me. Fought. Performed like, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but then like the way I performed, I was like, I'm still like amazed by it.
Well,
because
you didn't toot your own horn. It's like you felt good about it, right?
I felt good about it, but it was also like the first time in a really long time where like my body and my mind connected, where I told myself to do something and I did it. Whereas like I feel like a lot of my past few fights before that, it was just like I would tell myself to do something and like I couldn't pull it off, or I couldn't do it, or there was like a lag of some sort. So it just felt like it was like the perfect storm in a way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Well, so how'd that fight go?
I won.
Oh, you won that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I won.
Awesome.
I actually wobbled her in the first round with a left hook.
Oh.
She like went back a bit, and then so I won that first round, and the second round came close, and third round I won. She got really tired.
So how much do you think? So for those who don't know, like in Thailand, the fucking tape job that you get to do is not regulated. Like in the
It's
same
not
way.
regulated.
Yeah,
They don't watch
there
you.
There is, but it's not really.
Yeah.
It's like there's things that you're not gonna do there.
Yeah.
That won't fly, but. You know, rolling up tape and putting it on the knuckles is more than welcome. You barely put any gauze on there.
Yeah.
It's mostly tape, right?
So in the U.S., it's mostly gauze, a little
Yeah.
bit of tape, and in Thailand, it's the complete opposite. Like you basically have like a hand cast on,
Yeah.
with like this thick. I like to call it like a second knuckle because it literally just feels like solid.
It's like having a knuckle pack, and then you have it's almost like brass knuckles, just a little bit softer.
Yeah. And depending on the trainer, sometimes they roll it up like cigarettes and just like tape it over your knuckles. Some trainers will put it on like layer by layer by layer. They could put on like 20, 30, 40 layers, and it's just like super, super thick. You get into the glove, and
Barely.
you barely get into like that 10-ounce glove, and you throw a punch, and if it lands,
You
any
fight in
sort of
10 ounce
way.
gloves?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's
Yeah.
not 8 ounce, huh? Was it?
There were a couple times I fought an 8-ounce, a couple times I fought an 6-ounce, but in general, it's 10,
like especially
10
for the
ounce.
show, like the
Yeah.
entertainment shows. Okay, that makes sense.
Even for more hardcore, they say the gloves are 4-ounce. I don't think they're 4-ounce because they're super padded.
Those are the ones that's like an MMA glove, right?
Yeah, but they're not like the One Championship MMA gloves, which are true 4 ounces. They're really padded at the front of the hand and
On the
the
padding,
and the
on
nipples.
the fingers.
Yeah,
and stuff,
so I
right?
think they're more like 6 or 8 ounce. Yeah.
I wonder if so you fought like with MMA gloves before.
Yeah.
So
I've fought a couple times.
what was the biggest? Did you have to adapt anything during training when you were doing that?
The first time I fought with MMA gloves, I was told to throw more elbows because the elbows would land a lot
Because
easier.
it doesn't catch on the glove.
It doesn't catch on the glove. And also, the first time I did it, I fought that girl already like 3 times, and I know that she didn't like elbows. So it was a combination of those
Like,
two
oh,
things.
perfect.
Yeah, and then I won by knockout. My first ever head knockout with my right cross. She dropped, and then I was just kind of like, "What's happening? Why is she on the floor?" And she stumbled, and then the ref waved it off, and I was still like in shock about what happened. I was like, "Did I just knock her out with my hand?" Yeah, and that was my first time with MMA gloves.
Wow.
My second time with MMA gloves, I cut the girl, and my third time, I got cut. So it's definitely a lot easier to throw elbows to land them. Yep.
To be able to go through. You fought. You were telling me about a fight that you had against somebody who's like a notable, I guess, internationally known, former Fairtex fighter now, right?
Yeah. So I fought Wonder Girl back in 2017 on the first Rama 10 Kings Cup at the WPMF show.
Okay. And so when was that?
2017.
2017.
Yeah,
So
July
was-
2017.
Was she with Fairtex? No, she was with her dad.
She was
still.
with her dad
Yeah,
then.
still
I
with her
didn't.
dad.
She didn't get called over to Fairtex. I think until like a year and a half later.
Yeah, that's when she started blowing up on Instagram.
Yeah, that's
so
when
seeing
she
her
started
throwing
blowing up.
like spear knees and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
It was like people were like,
And that's her
Man.
sister.
Yeah.
The spear knees. Yeah.
yeah, they're showing it like on there like, hey, look at this. I'm like, yeah, good knees.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you see them at Fairtex and stuff like that there. And then I met up with Matt Lucas over there, and
Yeah.
he's introducing me to them. I was surprised. I'm like, oh, they speak English. She's like, yeah, they're all in like college.
Yeah, and their dad's an
University.
English teacher.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's funny. Well, that was one of those things I didn't know that. And so you were telling me you didn't have like video or pictures. You have some pictures of it.
I have pictures. I have like a 45-second clip of us doing nothing in the ring, but I mean, I have proof that we fought. You know what I mean? I have the weigh-in pictures and everything. So it's funny because I remember there was a lady on her corner who was recording the video.
You're like,
I specifically saw her when I was like doing my Y crew and stuff, and then I saw her like in between rounds when the ref was like, you know, breaking the clinch and stuff. And then I just have no idea who it is.
So lady who's out there in the corner.
Thai lady.
Yeah, Thai lady.
If you got it, hit us up. Send us the link.
Yeah, send it over. Just slide in the DMs, okay? Please. Man, so you don't have the video. There's something out there. It'll eventually something will come up.
Yeah, I mean, enough people were there to know that I fought her and I won. Yeah, I mean, back then she was able to make 51, 52 kilos. She can't do it anymore.
She's bigger.
She's bigger. She's put on quite a bit of muscle. And on one championship, she fights at like 57, which is 125 pounds. So, yeah, she definitely can't make 115 pounds anymore.
She fought Jackie Buntan, right?
Yeah, she did. She broke her orbital.
Oh, is that what happened?
She broke her orbital. Yeah, that's what happened to Cook. So I think they actually.
Wait, rewind real quick. So she broke her orbital.
Yeah, she broke her orbital.
With that hook that she.
Yeah,
broke?
from that hook, which is why she like kind of like went down, and
Yeah.
she said she couldn't see.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, your orbital bone is your eye socket.
Yeah.
Straight up, it's what holds your eye in place, and it goes behind your eye, and that is probably one of the more painful injuries I think that you could experience. Obviously, I think.
I mean, I wouldn't know. Thank God I haven't.
I hope it never happens.
Yeah.
Well, so she broke her orbital. So Jackie Buntan, think you'll ever fight her?
No, we're not even in the same weight
same
class.
because it's higher now, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so not even something that ends up being like catch weight. Like if one FC called tomorrow, I was like, hey,
if she could make like 118, 120, sure, why not?
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but I don't think she can.
No.
Yeah.
Have you looked at ONE FC before?
Yeah.
So, because I know Matt was probably like, hey.
So actually, around the time when I started training at Fairtex, they did reach out to me to fight Stamp for the title, the Muay Thai title.
Stamp Fairtex, for those that don't know.
I haven't told a lot of people about this, but I mean, I figured it's been over a year, so I'll just talk about it.
Yeah.
We were like in the middle of like kind of negotiating the pay and like the contract and stuff, and the guy who reached out to me was like, "Oh, I'm gonna come over to your gym and like discuss it with you on Wednesday." And then on the Tuesday, he reached out to Alicia, the Brazilian girl who's training at Phuket Fight Club, and she signed a contract. Oh. I mean, I don't know how much negotiating they did, but so she's the one who ended up fighting Stam instead of me.
Gained the world title.
Yeah, she gained the world title.
And she fucking blew up.
Yeah, and she blew up. Yep. So I mean, like sometimes I look back, I'm like, fuck, but everything happens for a reason, and I don't see myself having done anything wrong.
Well, no, that girl Alicia, she's pregnant.
Yeah, she's pregnant now.
Yeah, she's like almost.
She's about to give birth.
Yeah, that's crazy. So it's like she won a world title and got pregnant.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have a kid, which is another blessing. different fight in his own regard.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe you'll end up being able to get that. That'd be pretty badass.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my goals to fight on one championship. Like, just to fight on it.
So
win the belt, maybe.
What, you fight Stamp? Go through Stamp, then you fight Alicia?
Well, Stamp's not the champion anymore.
No, I know, but the thing is, like, so what's the ranking, though? That's the thing.
Oh, that's true.
So you
yeah,
fight
I would have to
Stamp?
fight, like, a bunch of people in the 115 class. I mean, what's really scary is that they signed Anissa Mexon to both Muay Thai and kickboxing, and I just feel like she's going to run through everyone. Because in Glory, she was fighting 120, 125ers, and she's smaller than all of them.
And she smoked him.
Yeah, she smoked them. Imagine what she's going to do to people in her actual weight class, you know what I mean?
Anissa Mexon, she's French, right?
She's French. French-Moroccan, from what I know.
Of course, right? Of course. What's with these, like, Moroccan, hybrid fighters? They're freaking beasts.
Well, from what I hear from Aziz is Moroccan. Moroccan fighters do not give any fucks.
No. You see it time and time again in the ring. Like, sometimes they let that shit
Especially
fly
the Dutch ones, right? The Dutch Moroccan ones.
Thank you. This is black cherry, right?
Yeah,
Cheers.
this is really good. Cheers.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I hope that ends up coming back around for you. You get the opportunity once things open
I
back
feel
up.
like because One Championship is trying to appeal more to the American scene because they do want to expand upon Asia, I think eventually it will loop back to me. I mean, there are only so many American female fighters at 115 that are pro, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. There's not a whole lot. And the ones that didn't go to MMA.
That's true.
Like in sign with UFC, you know, it's like you see like the was it Valentina? She's 115, right?
Yeah.
And
Joanna, right?
Yeah, so you see, and they're all coming from Muay Thai for years.
Yep.
It's cool to see them get big paydays like in UFC and stuff like that, but it's not what their strong suit is.
I imagine they could have just competed at what they loved doing, which was Muay Thai, and I mean, One Championship has really changed the standard for the scene. Now everyone wants to be on it.
Yeah, like I was telling you, like back like 2018, I started plugging. I'm like, hey, like if you're into MMA, like people come in, they're like, yeah, I watch UFC, I know what Muay Thai is. I'd ask them, do you know what ONE FC is?
Yeah.
This is so here in the U.S., like ONE FC was streaming for free, just like everywhere else in the world. But now it's on TNT. So if you're in the U.S. and you have a U.S.-based IP address, you can't stream it. And
Really? Even on YouTube?
Nope. Can't.
But I watched it on YouTube.
When?
Like the last event that they had.
From here in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe was it the prelims? Because I've had maybe that one
was
wasn't
the full event.
Maybe that one wasn't streamed on TNT. Maybe they allowed it to.
Yeah.
Because the ones that were on TNT was it Janet Todd, who did she fight? Alma Uniku. So that one, it was on TNT. You couldn't stream it. You had to like find a bootleg stream for TNT. Because I don't have cable. I'm not paying for it was HBO Max or whatever it is that you needed to have it. But I think that was a little bit like a bad move. Because it still like was in that growth phase.
Yeah.
It's all Glory. They tried to do the same thing with, they had this 8-man tournament. It's like $100K or $250,000 grand prize. And it was the same thing. They like want to charge like $120 for the stream. It's like, you have all these amazing fights, but no one's going to pay that because it's too soon.
Yeah.
You know, here in the U.S. But it was free on Eurosport. It's like,
it doesn't make any sense.
No, why would you do that?
Like, you're trying to grow your fan base elsewhere, and you're going to charge that fan base. It doesn't make sense.
That's still smaller than that fan base in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like the same thing was happening with ONE. So maybe they pulled back on it.
So then what's interesting is with ONE that I always thought that they just kind of made their money off sponsorships with the viewership.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, because in their shows in Bangkok, they were literally just giving out tickets to gyms for free. Like, here's 20 tickets, here's 30 tickets, just go. I asked for tickets, I got tickets for free, I got VIP for free and stuff, you know what I mean? So it wasn't difficult to get there. It was clear that they weren't trying to make money off ticket sales, just the viewership. So I kind of assumed it was going to be just that. And they did get a lot of sponsors. So, I mean, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, it was like Kunlun fight. You know, it's free. You don't have to pay for tickets. The same thing as sponsorship money because it's from China. Right?
Yeah.
So they like Chinese sponsorships. And I guess that's one of the benefits talking about China. You know, having an Asian-based, you know, promotion like ONE that does MMA, kickboxing, and Muay Thai. They're able to penetrate the, you know, Chinese market.
Yeah.
And that's something that the UFC can't do. Hasn't been able to.
So the Chinese market, they're mostly kickboxers, not a whole lot of MMA fighters. I think the only MMA fighter that we really know of in the UFC is sorry, what's her name? In the 115 division. I met her and I trained with her too. I can't remember her name for anything right now.
Oh my god, how dare you? It's slipping my mind right now because I don't follow it, but I've seen her fight. She's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I have to put it in the show notes.
It's Chang something. Anyway, but yeah, so
proof that we don't follow MMA that much.
I really, really don't follow MMA that much. But yeah, I remember when ONE released like the Super Series, and when they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna have pure stand-up fights, because they started with just MMA.
Yeah, and they were allowing soccer kicks to the head.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
They were allowing soccer kicks that had like pride rules, but they're also allowing elbows.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
People were kind of like, oh fuck, like this is back. Like,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Wow. And then I remember I was there when they had in Bangkok when they had that show with the WBC boxing match, Cesar Cat versus this Mexican guy. So on that card, they had MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, and Western boxing. So I feel like they were really like one of the first big promotions to kind of just be like, yeah, why does it just have to be like one thing? Why not do everything? And that's where they drew everyone in, and that's how they've been able to kind of like get a lot of the UFC fan base.
Here's the thing there with that too, though. Other promoters have tried it, but unsuccessfully.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the Bellator did like MMA and kickboxing. They had a ring and then they had a cage next to each other, and it was just kind of weird.
Huh.
The spacing, like the timing of it, was weird. What I think one does a really good job with is like they have either in a cage or in the ring.
Just one.
Yeah, just one.
They don't have
You
two.
know, they don't have two. It's like if you're fighting Muay Thai and they have predominantly MMA fights, they're fighting in a cage. If they have some MMA fights with kickboxing Muay Thai, they're fighting in a ring.
Yeah,
With the
but I
fight
have
ropes.
noticed that with their past few events, it's been all cage.
Well, I mean, that's marketability.
That's true.
You know, I think it's probably a marketing move more than anything. And it's interesting to see a cage in Muay Thai. Was it John Wayne Parr was one of the first ones, I think, to do like, cage Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And that all of a sudden I remember him posting something like, "Oh, of course, one of C's, doing this," but more of like a joke.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
But it's really interesting. Have you fought in a cage before?
No, never. I've trained in one. PK got one. They took one of their boxing rings and replaced it with a cage.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, well,
Like,
I mean, now they have a few fighters trained,
For
signed
one.
to one, so...
that makes sense then, because they want to make sure they train in that environment.
Yeah.
The cage is completely different because you don't have the corners.
Yeah, you don't have corners. You get really disoriented on where you are and how to move around and stuff. So it was really interesting the few times I did get to train in a cage.
So let me ask you, Rod Tang versus Demetrius Johnson. Do you see it? So they're doing one round. This is on ONE FC, guys. Good. One round, first round Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Second round MMA. And then one round Muay Thai for round number 3.
And then fourth round MMA.
MMA.
Yeah. I know Rotang, when he was dating Stamp, he was training a little bit of BJJ, but it's not nearly enough. Like a couple months of BJJ is not nearly enough to take on DJ. So I think DJ is going to submit him.
Round 2, done.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rotang, and I love the kind of fighter he is, but just looking at it realistically, like, why would, like, DJ has trained stand-up. You know what I mean? For years and years and years. He has
been
to.
to Thailand and stuff like
Exactly.
that too.
He's an MMA fighter. He has to train stand-up. Rotang only trains Muay Thai and has trained ground game for a couple months at most.
He dipped his finger in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you play, like, whose game, like, DJ has a chance of getting knocked out, but he probably knows how to move and how to, like, avoid certain situations, whereas, like, Rotang, if he gets on the ground, he's fucked. So,
Yeah, well, it's not only that, it's like, again, you're in a cage.
Yeah.
You can just move the whole first round as much as you can and just try to, like...
Get him in the second, right?
Survive the first round and then dominate in the second and submit Rod Tang. So I see it more of... What's really cool about it is it's like we saw the McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather like boxing fight. So one of those super fights is more like... It's a period piece. It's not competitive.
It's pure publicity.
Yeah, well, it's publicity, but it's also entertainment. Because that's what fighting
yeah.
comes down to. It's entertainment for people.
True.
So you see, like, I told myself, like, I'm going to try to stay away from the McGregor and Mayweather fight. But the thing is, people have these parties. I'm like, I guess I'll go over. There's food. And it's entertaining to see McGregor try to go do his thing and get schooled in boxing. There's the memes. It was Mayweather carrying McGregor when he's like a kid. And he's like, where are we going, Daddy? We're going to school. I'm going to take you to school. So I feel like it's a similar thing, for this fight. And it's going to bring a lot of, maybe it'll bring more attention to Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy? Like, why is he fighting Demetrius Johnson, one of the best, like, MMA fighters right now? Of course, he's at 125, but it's weird here in America. People only want big people.
You know what? You make a really good point, because I was just thinking, like, when I saw the announcement, I was like, this is very uncharacteristic of One Championship. Yes, they've been trying to, like, break certain norms, but at the same time, they've been making a lot of their matches really fair. The decisions, for the most part, are fair. And the fights are competitive from both sides. Like, it's very rare that you see a fight that's very, very one-sided in one championship, which is why they don't sign people who don't want to fight certain people, like Senchai, you know what I mean? But Nango is signed because he's down to fight anyone. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is a little bit uncharacteristic. But now that you bring up that point, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely for just bring attention or marketing or something.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. So that's a good promoter. That's what that comes down to. He realized, and I've seen it happening, and this is what I've been telling everybody. I'm like, hey, do you remember like these fighters that like Sage Northcutt? His sister fights in 1FC also now. Sage Northcutt, he fought against, was it Cosmo Alexander? He got his orbital smash. Same thing. He's still recovering from it, I think. But they're buying out all these UFC fighters from underneath the UFC when they drop them. Like, you know, that's what they're putting like hot potatoes. Like, hey, you're not winning anymore. Go.
Yeah.
And 1FC's been going out and buying them out. I don't know what the balance sheet or profit and loss statements look like, but last I heard is that 1FC on paper is worth more than UFC.
But they're probably still not making any
No,
profit,
they're not. But I think this is the start of
something.
making that happen.
I do agree. And I also think like one might have trouble penetrating the American market just because like if you look at the UFC fan base, they're a very specific type of person. At least when you look at the majority. You know what I mean? A lot of these people, they don't train. They don't really know what's what. They just kind of want to see violence and blood and stuff. But 1FC also just taking like a lot of like the top fighters and just signing them on and be like, okay, well now you're going to fight for our promotion and stuff. It could help them a little bit.
Yeah. You mean it'll help 1FC?
It'll help 1FC.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I'm not entirely sure because it's not like the major fan base of UFC is really going to be like, oh, I love that technical fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not going to see it. Well, the thing is, it comes into like, people didn't understand Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when they first saw it. It was boring. People would boo when there's somebody like in full mount.
Yeah.
It's like they're on top and pummeling the guy. Like, boo.
Oh, that's gay.
Yeah. But now that they built the education, there's all these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools there around. They built their audience. You know, that was the whole purpose of UFC, was to build the audience to understand what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. UFC 1, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So, you think about for Muay Thai, like I was telling you, like, our job is to educate people on what Muay Thai is. You know, and to understand it a little bit more, and to be able to know what they're seeing. It's like, yeah, it's easier to understand than jiu-jitsu because you see somebody get elbowed, you're like, oh crap. But sometimes you see elbows so fast, you don't even see it, and the person's on the ground, you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
it had, like, if you know Muay Thai, it's like, yeah, it was an elbow.
That's true.
So, but most people that see it, they don't even see those happening unless you're like, oh, freeze frame, here, look, see, elbow. It's one of those things I've noticed with like just showing people fights. I'm like, they're like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, did you see what happened? They're like, no. I'm like, the guy threw a hook and he just stepped in and threw like an up elbow and the guy fell like a plank.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, damn. Like, just an elbow? Yeah, that's it. So it's the same thing as understanding those exchanges, understanding clinching.
Yeah.
Like what's going on there. Because from a Western boxing standpoint, the clinching is seen as
Rest,
like resting,
right? Yeah.
or stalling. But, you know, in Muay Thai, it's encouraged.
Yeah.
And it's like you're being active. And for people to understand that that's what's happening.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I had a fight. I was reffing at the U.S. Muay Thai Open earlier this year. There's one girl, really good punch and kick. Like, great. She's southpaw, good cross, good hook, good left body kick. The other girl, she was decent, like, Muay Thai on the outside. Wasn't as, like, sharp of a puncher. Her clinch, though, sold it. She just, like, she literally kneed her the whole time.
Yeah.
And I heard the other girl's corner, like, ref, when are you going to break it? She's just clinching. It's like, yeah, because she's actively kneeing her, like...
And you were the ref, right?
Yeah, I was the ref.
Yeah.
I was just thinking...
and you know where you're looking at, too.
I see him like, no, they're getting kneed. This girl worked... She ate a couple of those crosses, got in, and she's kneeing the crap out of her.
Yeah.
So you see this happening, and it's explained in the rules meeting and stuff like that. But you see the other girl... You hear the other girl's, like... basically, like, her people that are there to watch, like... What is this that's happening? What's going on? Because they don't know what they're seeing.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, they don't know what they're seeing. And you see, like, the head of the sanctioning body there, Bob Carmel. He brought the coach to the side, and he explained to him what was going on and why his fighter was losing. And I saw a handshake afterwards. Hey, thanks for explaining to me.
Oh, okay.
And it's that education. And it's not just... it's not just the spectators, it's also the coaches. We were talking about this, like repeating the mistakes of like the people who came before us, the previous generation.
Yeah.
They didn't have the pool of information. They weren't going to Thailand. It was hard. We didn't have the internet to like make contacts and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So seeing that all kind of come together in stuff like ONE FC, we're streaming online. You get to watch it. You don't have to like, hey, I have to go to Thai Town and get the video CDs that have the fights on it. That's like how I started, and then it started popping up on YouTube like a couple years later. So it's cool to see that kind of blossom into this whole platform. So I hope you get to end up on ONE FC.
Yeah, me too.
I was curious about that. I was saving that question. It needs to happen. Yo, Chatri, if you're out there, man, do it.
If you're listening, Mr. Slit Your Tongue.
Yeah. But that's, I really hope you get that opportunity.
Thank you.
There's not a lot, like you said, there's not a lot of 115 pounders, especially people who are fighting and actively competing. So, like you said, would you say you fought some girl 3 times?
Yeah, and then on what is it? On Muay Hardcore, that was my 4th and final time. Yeah, well...
Why is it a final time? Are you sure about that?
Well, yeah, I'm sure because her manager came up to my trainer and was like, okay, they're not going to fight anymore. Because before that, he kept actively looking to match it with me because he kept thinking like...
Like, she could win.
Yeah. So then I won the first 2 times. The 3rd time, I severely overtrained and just my body just wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
I was super flat and she won. And in the 4th time, that was when I knocked her out. Before that... her trainer was like feeling all high and she beat Angela last time, so she's gonna beat Angela again. And then I came in, I was like, nope.
You mentioned something about you said overtraining.
Yeah.
So I used to think a lot about like overtraining and what that means. Have you ever thought of it as like under recovering? Like, do you think like it was part of like recovery too? Because I guess recovery is part of training.
So now I believe and also act like I believe that recovery is part of training. Before that, it was just like, yeah, I need to recover, but I never took the steps to like really show that. Like I've always been the type to just kind of like bite my teeth down and just grind to the bone and stuff. So like during the times when I did think I was like, oh, maybe I need to take a few days off, I just completely ignored it. And I just went about, it was like, oh no, I just need to train harder, that's why my cardio is not so good. Or, oh no, I could just push through this week and then the next week and the next week. But then when you overtrain, it's like you're not getting any better, you're actually getting worse. And I learned the hard way a couple times for some fights, but thankfully I didn't get like seriously hurt or anything, because some people do. Yeah.
For sure. I've had overtraining injuries. I developed tendonitis in my right Achilles.
Ooh.
From overtraining.
Yeah.
But, not recovering properly and stuff like that. And that's where it comes into, like, sleep and stuff like that. Are you ever, like, when you're training for, like, in fight camp, how much are you sleeping, would you say?
I always aim to sleep at least 8 hours. Realistically, sometimes it doesn't happen because... being a foreign fighter, you don't just train and fight, you have to like work and stuff. But usually I get like 7.5, 8 hours, which is pretty good. But my problem is that sometimes I'm just so like thinking about everything that I can't fall asleep. What did end up helping me is that I started taking ZMA.
Zinc, magnesium.
Yeah. It has zinc, magnesium, and like I think B6 in it before I sleep, and it does help me. It's not a sleeping aid, but it does help me just have like a steady night of sleep. It does help me in my recovery.
Have you ever used the powdered form of magnesium before?
No, I haven't.
They have it here. I think they have it at CVS next door. You have to. We'll get you some. It's called Calm. So I did ZMA before. It's great, but this stuff Calm, it's more bioavailable. You drink it, and it was like warm water, and it knocked me out the first time. Because you see how much coffee I drink.
Yeah.
So that leaches you magnesium.
Oh.
So for me, it's like falling asleep and having like deep, restful sleep. So using like a powdered form of magnesium. I think I actually might have some. I'll have to look.
Okay.
But if you want to try it, you can try it.
Okay.
But that's interesting you mentioned the ZMA. Because it's like being able to get your body just relax.
Yeah, and the zinc also helps with the immune system as well. So it's like immune system, recovery, sleep, all the things that I was just kind of like, well, I don't have a lot of control over this, so I'm just gonna try this, and it worked really well for me. And then I remember giving some of my ZMA pills to Travis Clay, who is in Bangkok at the time. Hey, he said the same thing. He was like, I slept really well. Yeah.
With magnesium and stuff, you ever do like Epsom salt, like just soak your feet in it or anything like that?
No, I've used Epsom salts to cut weight before, which was not fun. Yeah, it pulled the weight like really quick out of me. Like I would sit in the tub for not even 10 minutes and 2 pounds would be gone. It was horrible. I don't want to do Epsom salts ever again.
Yeah, Epsom salt, like for recovery though. So have you ever heard of float tanks? Mm-hmm. So actually,
the deprivation tanks, right?
Yeah, it's like a sensory deprivation. But what it is it's a super high density of Epsom salt. So there's only like maybe like I think like 8 or 9 inches of water, but your back doesn't touch the bottom of the tank because there's so much salt in it, and it's supposed to be like allegedly absorbed like through your skin. It's supposed to help you relax, but it's like more of the feeling of just like kind of being like weightless almost.
Yeah.
They have a light and they have music if you want to turn it on and stuff like that. I recommend checking it out. Because it's like it almost creates like a sense of like floating in nothing.
Yeah.
That way you can really work on your mental game too.
Yeah. So I've heard of some people like regularly going to the sensory deprivation tanks, and then there are quite a few of them that say that they go into like this other kind of experience while they're in the tank because they're literally like not getting anything in their senses.
There's no input into your body, and your body's kind of like, yo, what's going on?
Yeah, I am like, oh, that's kind of trippy.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's more of like a way to be able to relax you. Oh, thank you. Be able to relax your body too.
Yeah.
So for some people, it's like meditative. You know, they can go in there and they can think through these things that keep them up at night.
That's true.
So, I highly recommend it. If you're here in the States and you see one, I would
try it.
Yeah, book it. I wouldn't do it. Don't do it like when you have stuff to do later in the afternoon.
Because you get sleepy, or
it can make you. It made me feel like really like groggy.
Like after a massage. Kind of
feeling? But like think of that like times 10.
Oh. That's
I was really like, whoa, like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And I had to teach like a full like block of like 6 hours of classes.
Oh no!
And I was just like, coffee, like cold water on
Wake
the
me
face.
up!
Yeah, something.
Stress me out.
Yeah, just like let's go, like let's keep moving. But yeah, well, with your recovery and stuff. So ZMA, what else do you do to recover? So like Thai massage. Do you do Thai massage?
I do Thai massage towards the end of the training week. So in Thailand, the training is Monday through Saturday. So like if I book a massage on like a Saturday evening, it's like the thing I look forward to most in the week. Like I'm just thinking, oh, 4 more days into the massage. Oh, 3 more training sessions into my massage. Because I don't do it often. So when I do, it's usually because like I really need it. And so sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait for that lady's fingers to just like dig into my shoulder, you know?
Like, oh man, I can really throw my
gonna
hook
hurt
right
so
now.
good.
Yeah, I can barely throw that punch right now.
But it's like, you know, if you find a good masseuse, it's really good for body maintenance. It's good for recovery, and you know, as long as you drink enough water, you won't be too sore. Yeah.
I think that's actually one of the keys for being able to be so relaxed and powerful, like the Thai fighters, because they massage each other.
They do.
Yeah, it's a lot of massages making the body relax. That way you can make more power. You know, it's like the most common thing you see from people. 2/10.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like from stress or you know the muscles just being tight and not being able to be relaxed.
Or them just like thinking too much into the training.
Yeah, it's normal to be that way, and I feel like the massage forces them to be aware of those tense spots in their body, and forces them to relax more. That's something that I've noticed, like, because it'll be like the first like 2 weeks I'll be there. It's like, hey, massage Wednesday, massage Saturday, for like the first 2 weeks. After that, once a week's fine. But then after that, I'm like, oh, I'm like a noodle.
Yeah.
To be relaxed, you know, and you feel like your energy is a little bit higher because you can actually train.
Yeah. You know how we were talking about money before? A Thai massage in Bangkok is only like $6 for a whole hour. Yeah, I mean, if you're not taking advantage of that, if you're in Bangkok, you're like totally missing out.
I try to tell people this, but I'm sure you've come across people like, I just don't like other people touching me. I'm like,
Yeah, I've come across this too. I'm like, you don't understand.
yeah, I don't think you get what's happening here. It's not like that. It's literally it's to recover and get your body to relax.
It's just working out all your knots, your tight spots. You get stretched a little bit. You become more aware of like, oh yeah, I have a lot of knots in that area. I should probably do something about that.
I have a theory. It's the same people that don't want to get the massage. They're the same people that you have a hard time getting to like foam roll and shit like that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh no, I don't need it. I don't need it. It's like you need it the most. But
it hurts, but afterwards you feel so good with foam roller and the massage.
Here it's at least $1 a minute for a Thai massage.
Yeah,
there's actually a place in Ventura. They're all trained at Wat Po.
Oh,
yeah, they're all trained from Wat Po.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like legit. Like I read the reviews and like, huh. You know, Ventura's kind of known for like the rub and tugs. Mm-hmm. So I was like, Thai massage. Like, but I saw the reviews and they're like, oh, it's a legit place. Went there, talked to her, and she's, you know, trained, like, her and all her masseuses, they're all Thai, and they're all trained at Wat Po. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, cool, give me business cards, I'll send people your way.
Yeah,
So, like, having that here is so amazing. I'm like, it's worth its weight in gold. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously you don't get that often because it's freaking expensive.
Yeah.
Like, you would be able to in Thailand, like, weekly basis.
Yeah.
But it's part of the healthcare system there, too, I think.
The Thai massages?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, well, she was saying she worked, you know, June, who's the owner of Rain Thai, said she worked with the doctors at one of the Bangkok hospitals.
Oh.
They bring her in and stuff like that to work with patients in rehab.
So what's really interesting is like if you go into a Bangkok hospital, they actually have a subsection for like Chinese medicine and acupuncture and stuff. You don't see that in the Western hospitals at all. So it's like what do we call it? Alternative medicine and stuff. And so I guess that would be the instance where.
Well, you're seeing it more and more here actually. So like you've seen people become like a doctor of osteopathy. DO. So they go through that massage, they go through acupuncture, and they learn a little bit more of like the alternative medicine too. But definitely you don't see it. It's not regular.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how did you notice that the first time? What were you doing? Like,
I was in the hospital for I think I scratched my cornea.
Oh shit!
From just eating too many shots to my left eye during boxing and whatever boxing sparring. And then I woke up one day and then like my eye was swollen. I couldn't see out of it. So I was like, I need to go to the fucking hospital. So then anyway, I was at hospital. I was like waiting for the doctor and I just kind of turned my head just to read the sign because I don't think to do. I was like, oh, there's a whole Chinese medicine department. Like, where do you see that? You know what I mean? So yeah, that was really interesting because I know that there are so many places with like massage, acupuncture, and all of that. But I would just never think like I would see in a hospital where they have all these trained doctors and all of this like medicine, all this chemicals and stuff. They would have a section just for alternative medicine. So that's kind of like when I realized I was like, oh, maybe people in Asia they are looking for this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's integrated. It's integrated together.
Yeah,
you know, because there's stuff to it and it works. Mm-hmm. You know, have you ever done acupuncture?
I haven't, but there's this. I'm not even really sure what to call this guy, but I remember a lot of the fighters at Sesongpinon, they swore by him. City Chai like broke his hand from a fight one time. He went to this guy and his hand was working properly again. Mm-hmm. So then I got the business card for him and I went with my cousin who was having like a tight chest or whatever. The guy, like, I don't know, I was, like, watching it, and I couldn't comprehend what happened, but he, like, pulled his arm in different directions. I heard, like, crack, 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 and then his sternum also, like, cracked in weird ways, and then my cousin was, like, breathing regularly again.
He's probably an osteopath. That's what those are.
Maybe, but then, yeah, possibly.
They work on, like, helping manipulate the body. They use chiropractics, they use Western medicine, they use Eastern medicine. They bring it all together.
But this guy is just purely body manipulation, just body work, and he charges like 3 times as much as a masseuse would per hour. But the catch is he's done in 5 minutes. He doesn't take the whole hour. 5 minutes of you cracking and making all sorts of scary making sounds, and then you're out and you feel amazing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm about to get that business card from you. Get that guy over here.
Yeah.
So talking about like medicine recovery, When it comes into your training camp, so what does that look like for you? Like when you're training for a fight, like how far out are you training? Like when do you start? Like, hey, I need to start doing like my hard training.
I always try to train as hard as I can, but then obviously I don't have like a whole lot of influence over what my power holder wants to do. It's not like I'm gonna be the one to be like, hey, you need to hold more rounds for me today because I said so. So what I've noticed is that Thai trainers, at least at the gyms that I've been at full time, they like to start training for the fights like about 3.5 weeks ahead of time. When you're still like a full month out, they're still like, oh, you still got a month, and they're still like a little bit more chilled in training than usual. But most trainers, they do slowly work their way up. So when I was at Siston Pinong, I would be doing like 8 rounds on pads sometimes, followed by like boxing, low kicks, getting short kicks and clinching. At PK, every day I was doing 3 or 4 rounds Thai pads.
How many minutes were the rounds at PK?
4 rounds. Same thing on Siston Pinong.
But is it 4-minute rounds?
4-minute rounds.
4-minute
Same thing on Siston Pinong. 4-minute rounds. At PK, every single day I was doing 3 or 4 rounds Thai pads, 1 or 2 rounds boxing, 1 round low kick, 1 round elbows, and sometimes 1 round just kneeing. So like on a regular day, not fight camp, I was already doing a minimum of 7 rounds. So then at Sitsong, like on a regular day, I was only doing 3 rounds. So then making that transition, it was just like when I had to pick it up for fight camp and I was just doing a couple more rounds, it didn't feel as bad. Yeah.
So how long are your I guess at PK, like how long is like clinching?
Usually 20 minutes, and it was the same thing at Sitsong. 20 minutes of clinching.
So like the gym I was telling you about, Kids Kim Thorn, is like minimum 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
45 minutes, almost every day.
It was so when I went to.
It's very relaxed too.
Oh, okay.
They're very relaxed.
When I went to FA group, they start off the training with clinching.
I heard about that. Matt told me about that.
30 minutes of clinching, and then you hit pads and stuff. And I mean, if you're not a good clincher, that just takes it all out of you.
You're like, yeah, 1 round, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, there's no stopping. Like, a lot of Westerners, they come and they hear the bell and they're like, oh, it's time to rest. No, you're going the whole, like, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, you're clinching nonstop. Yeah. And there's always, like, a 12-year-old Thai boy who weighs, like, nothing that's throwing you around.
And asking you why they're throwing you when you weigh so much more than them. They're calling you fat, too. Why are you fat? It's like, I'm not fat. Man, yeah, that was my first time I went to Thailand. I was training, so, like, here in Ventura, like I said, we didn't have, like, Muay Thai. So we were training at an MMA place. We went to Thailand. And, is it Matthias Gallo?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes, I do. 7 Muay Thai now, right? Yeah.
So we're at a gym in Pattaya that he trained at for a long time. There's another Thai guy named Christian Dakio, who died in the ring, by the way. Rest in peace. Yeah, he died in a boxing match, WBC boxing match. He told us too. He's like, I'm gonna die in the ring one day. He's like, if I'm gonna die, that's what it's gonna be. But we were there with him, and I just remember like I was trying to learn clinching. I'm like, I want to learn how to clinch. And they're like, okay, well you're gonna fight next week. Just I'm like, when it comes to clinch, just don't clinch. I'm like, fuck.
I love how a lot of Thai trainers, they just make things so black and white. They're like, well, duh.
Just don't do it. You suck at it. Like, just don't do it. It's like, okay, what do I do though? Just don't do it. Like you said, just you hear some fighters just like, just do it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But what's interesting is like when you're an experienced fighter, you kind of know like when the trainers tell you in the corner, hey, try not to clinch. You know the defensive techniques that you need to do. But if you're like new to all of it, then you're just like what does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know?
And they're just like throwing you in, and like seeing that and learning, and it's like fuck, like I don't know shit. Like I'm not training Muay Thai. That's why I was like. I was about 2 years in. Not 2 years in. So I came back. We had like a couple smokers. And it had been like 2 years. And I almost completely quit. So, and that's when I met my Thai trainer.
Yeah. Did you almost quit because you found it kind of boring? Or
boring. I didn't have, there was no fights. I couldn't get any fights because the gym I was at didn't have any connections to be able to do it. There wasn't a lot of stuff. Remember we talked about this like before. It was like you were lucky if you could fight twice a year. Yeah. You were lucky. That was quote unquote active.
Yeah.
But now, like tournaments, PKPs, smokers, all these different things that are happening, fight nights, like dual meets. There's so many opportunities. But back then, it's just, there's nothing. So, yeah, I got bored. It's like, oh, there's no way to progress. And that's where I met my Thai trainer in LA. And I started carpooling with my friends down there and everything like that, too. And first day we went there, he went over clinching basics. I was like, holy shit, this is where I need to train.
Yeah.
He like shook my head around, like check my neck. And he was explaining what he was doing while he was doing it. I'm like, all right, this is where I need to be at.
Yeah.
So, having that, I think like the clinch game, like we were talking about this too, it's underutilized a lot here.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, like, I tell a lot for our people, like, hey, if you're able to have like strong boxing defense and like strong clinching, you can usually win.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, because it's...
Because they don't know what to do.
No, they just grab. They don't knee.
Yeah, they grab and then they kind of just hang on you and they don't really know what to do with their arms. They don't really know how to control you.
They don't know how to throw like a round knee either.
Yeah.
So that's like a big thing is people like to try to throw a straight knee. It's just a little like
Yeah,
they're almost like
hit
marching.
the crotch.
It's like those little like almost like they're like a running man almost. Running man knees. So I've seen that a lot for people, but it's getting better though, because there's people that are going to town making that trip.
It's more accessible now.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And the coaches are starting to like, people. Like, I'm not trying to toot my horn. People like me, they have this experience. They're able to share it and make fighters that are, have a better understanding of it. I'm not gonna say proficient, but better understanding of what you can do when you're clinching.
Yeah.
Not just try to throw a straight knee. I think like was it Anderson Silva in MMA, the Muay Thai clinch. Like,
yeah, but I mean, he was one of the first like mainstream MMA fighters to really hold show what it was like to hold someone's neck and just kind of throw those knees back and forth
and just unleash.
Yeah.
It gave a platform for Muay Thai as well. And like I said, a lot of people come into our place like, oh, I hear the commentators talking about Muay Thai all the time. It's like,
what is it?
Yeah, I want to try it. Like, it seems like every time they talk Muay Thai, the fight's exciting. It's like, because that's all the stand up. Like, oh, okay, I got it. But it's cool to see, I guess, just the sport grow through that capacity, too.
Yeah.
But
you gotta take all the avenues you can get sometimes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. There's a lot of people that come in. I know, I talked to you about this. Like, oh, I heard about Andrew Rogan. It's like, oh, cool, man. Come in and train. Like,
yeah, just come in and see what it's about.
Yeah, come in and train. But it's like you get a lot of people advocating for like Muay Thai and martial arts for kids now. I think having UFC and there's some athletes that are in there that are they're martial artists. They're not like that just bleed kind of like UFC type that you see like marketed a lot. And I feel like that those people get heard, luckily, thanks to a lot of media coverage.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that ONE FC does very well is like the promoting the martial arts aspect. And I think obviously that's one of the reasons why they're able to penetrate like the Chinese market too. And I don't know, like, so I noticed that UFC for a bit, so they actually got bought by the same company that owns WWE.
Okay. Some
Chinese company. And what ended up happening, sorry, I don't know if it's a Chinese company, I know they have some Chinese investors.
Okay.
But ONE FC started coming up a lot, like growing. And then next thing you know, ONE FC, or UFC was like, oh, hey, like their champion, usually he's like big shit talker, was like, oh, hey, remember, we're martial artists, like, and started having these things. I'm like, that came out of left field.
Yeah,
like,
that's very uncharacteristic of UFC.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's like them trying to fix some of their marketing for that demographic that was watching ONE. Like, the crowd that likes that, they're trying to like capture that.
You know, with all of McGregor's shit talking, it's very entertaining. But even ONE FC came out was like, yeah, fighters like that, we will never offer anything for them. Because what did ONE say? They said something like they don't represent what we represent. They don't represent what a martial artist is, which is like humility and all these other aspects. So it's just kind of interesting for ONE FC to like use McGregor as an example, like, which is kind of like the pinnacle of like what UFC fans usually really like. So it's like that big contrast, and I think that big contrast just also really shows I don't want to say like true martial artists from like people who just like violence, but in a general way it is kind of going that direction. Like you see people who really love the technical side and really love the competitiveness of the fighting side versus the people who just want to see like blood and violence.
They just want to see someone get hit.
Yeah.
They want to see someone get fucked up.
And the drama as well.
Yeah, the entertainment aspect of it. So I think the big thing is like how you turn the people from the entertainment to understanding the sport.
I think you get them to step inside a gym, get them to do it, and pound
you
it.
Understand. Yeah, you understand.
Get them to learn a little bit of humility and realize like, oh, I can't just tell them to just do that because it's really fucking hard.
It's not just that. It's like, oh, I can't fucking fight. I suck.
Yeah. It's amazing how much like you get humbled just being at, especially like a Muay Thai gym. Like you can come in thinking like you're the toughest shit in the world, and then you get your ass kicked by someone like half your size, or a lot of guys come in thinking they're hot shit and they're like, I can beat up any woman that I want. Before. Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. And you just really, the people who stick around really reflect on themselves and really question a lot of the things that they used to believe and be like, all right, this is what I need to do in order to get better, in order to improve at Muay Thai, in order to improve as a person. That's what I've noticed about the people who stick around in Muay Thai. They always want to improve in themselves as well, not just from fighting.
Yeah, it takes a special person to be able to like be absorbed enough into something to be able to want that though. Like I guess out of 10 people, how many people do you think stick around like that? Maybe
Not
one.
Maybe one or two. Yeah.
Why is that? Well, why do you think?
Well, I just think it's just human nature in general. People fall off of things really easily. They find it hard to be consistent. They're distracted by other things in life, which are all fair. You can't exactly blame them for it. But at the same time, it's like for someone to like just really strike that passion and be like, I want to keep doing this. It's just rare. I mean, when you just look at things across the board, I just feel like it's like that for almost everything. Yeah.
I agree 100%. Do you think it has to do with coaching also?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard some horror stories from some people on their coaches being like narcissists and like taking out their own personal stuff or whatever's happening outside of the gym onto their students, or even like male coaches or male gym owners trying to like have like sleep with all their female students and stuff. I've seen that
before.
Yeah, and you hear of all these like abuse stories and stuff. So definitely the coach you have is going to be like kind of your narrative of your Muay Thai journey. If you have a good coach from the beginning who like really cares about your well-being and like really tries to instruct you based off what you're capable and what your goals are, then you're going to have a much more positive experience than a coach who tries to mold every single person into like a cookie cutter kind of thing. Yeah, because that's just not for everyone. No.
It's like, so like one of the things that we do is like we have our base fundamentals that we teach. After that, it's kind of like, hey, you have fundamentals, time to break the rules. Like learn your style. And like we're going to show you different techniques, different ways of doing things. Some things you're going to be like, why are we doing this? Like next week, you're going to be doing something maybe a little bit different. Like, oh, yeah, I like that, man. I'm going to use that. It works for me. And learning, like, but having that foundation, like a fundamental base to build on, I think is really important.
I agree.
For martial arts, too. And having that, like, giving a lot of strict structure, like that. You call it cookie cutter. Yeah. So having a cookie cutter, like, fundamental base and making sure, because I was just talking with Coach Ryan about this. It's like you have somebody who's new, who's never done class or anything, and you're only doing one-on-ones with them. There's these like abstract concepts that only really happen with repetition for you to be able to understand it in regards to martial arts training. It can take, they can get it through one-on-one training, but it's going to take longer, I feel. But when you train with other people, you see them do it, you see them learning these things. It allows them to develop the questions in, like, whether it's the hands-on learning, whether it's from visually seeing or hearing it from other people.
Or just the simple fact of comparing yourself and being a little bit competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Because some people, they perform under that. And being able to take that and learn from it in the regards like, I take this new person. They don't, Patrick Rivera. Mm-hmm. So he's the one you're going to in Stockton potentially.
I
right?
might be, yeah.
Might be, right? So he says, it's like, hey, you're not going to teach geometry at the first day of Math 1.
Yeah.
They're going to look at you with a blank stare. My coach called it the fluoridated stare. What do you... Yeah, no, I don't understand. Do you remember the combination? No. But you get that because it's so abstract to think about. Uh-huh. But then after a certain period of time of being in it, you start understanding, like, you start learning the language of martial arts. Mm-hmm. So I see that a lot and I feel like the people that don't stick to it, they aren't catching that. They're coming into it too.
Yeah.
From what I've seen a lot of people come through and train and.
As someone who's tried a lot of different things over the years, I kind of empathize with those people who don't stick around because,
for sure.
I've just tried. I love being active, so I've just tried a lot of things over the years. And if I get bored of something, it's just not. I'm not really gonna stick with it. Like I might dabble in it, but it's never gonna become my passion.
No, for sure.
And when I actually made a list before I started Muay Thai, so it was just like a bunch of stuff, and it was Muay Thai and it was dancing. So if I ever got more bored of like Muay Thai, I was gonna do dancing. I never got bored of Muay Thai, so I'm never gonna learn how to dance. But everyone has that thing. Everyone has that thing, and I think it's important for people to try a bunch of different things and try their best to stick with it to know whether or not it's for them. Yeah,
well, going into like that, how did you get started in Muay Thai?
Technically, I was working when I was in school. I started making my own money, and I just started taking my own lessons. But why I wanted to get started, I grew up watching a bunch of martial arts movies with my dad, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Kickboxer,
yes.
Bloodsport, all that stuff. Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and my brother got to take Taekwondo, and I didn't get to, and he's younger than me too. So then I was like, Dad, I want to do that stuff, and then my parents were like, oh no, girls don't do that stuff, Yeah. So so the little feminist in me grew that day. Let's just say. Yeah. So then I was growing up, I was always very sensitive to
this makes sense about some of the stuff that you were telling me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Some childhood shit coming up.
I have a lot of childhood trauma. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, so then when I was able to do it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And then everything happened organically, as we spoke about. I just went in because I was like, I want to learn this. I've been wanting to learn this my entire life. I want to become better at this, so I'm gonna fight to become better at this. And then I want to become a better fighter, so I'm gonna go to Thailand to do that. And then all of these things just kind of unfolded by itself. And I just feel like it's just been the best journey of my life. I'm never gonna forget this. And it might not be the sole identity of who I am as a person, but it's definitely I just can't separate it from who I am as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I always like to understand people's why. I think it's it got planted into you, you wanted to do it. I had something similar. It's my parents just didn't see benefit of it. It's no, you don't want to train martial arts. No, we surf. It's
you're F the rules.
Yeah, I don't surf. I didn't. My brother did, and Dad did, but me no. So it's just having that and being able to roll over into it and be able to, get to that point where you can go do it and just show up hey, I've always wanted to do this. I can do it now. It's my call. Well, that's really awesome. Well, what's funny is actually it's a little bit past midnight.
Oh, is it? We've been talking for that long?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's been about an hour and a half.
Oh, jeez. It doesn't feel like that long.
I guess, we'll wrap up the podcast. We chat a little bit more and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But how can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Angela Seaton. That's the main way to find me. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I post a lot of stuff. You can also find me through my blog, muay-ying.com. So that's muay-ying.com. I write a lot of stuff about what it's like being a woman in Thailand, some of my personal experiences fighting and training in Thailand. Just also Thailand stuff in general. If you're interested in making a trip over there, what you should expect, what you need to bring, what you don't need to bring, things like that. Awesome.
Well, obviously we're stoked to have you.
Thank you.
You're at the academy and stuff like that. I'm glad you got to meet a lot of students and kind of see what we're doing.
Me too.
And see Santa Barbara, I remember you're like, oh, I went through it before. I drove through it, super bougie. I can't wait to be there. Like, yes, that's the plan. We have an airport here. It's easy for people to come here. So super appreciative, and thanks for sharing a lot of what you shared today. I think a lot of people can relate. So thank you.
Yeah, I always try to keep it real, you know.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time. All right, that's it today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys are listening on iTunes, please go leave a review. It means the world to me if you enjoy the content, or if you like hearing about all the stuff that has to do with Muay Thai and what we're doing. Also, there's another way to support us. If you guys visit our Patreon link, it's in the show notes. Also on our YouTube, if you go to pmtlifestyle.com, there's a Patreon link up at the top. You can support us for as little as $5 a month. To get some behind-the-scenes footage, things of that nature, to see what we're doing behind the scenes for Pu'u Muay Thai, what we're trying to get going. Also, you can get some early access clips. You can also get t-shirts, merchandise, and a few other things as perks of being a patron. Again, go check that out. It's at pmtlifestyle.com.